The Marshall Plan for Africa has not worked, but why? Does this tell us about appropriate circumstances for foreign aid? Despite best efforts, aid distribution within the current infrastructure of developing nations is often more about the politics of the deliveries than the economic and social needs of the recipients. Okay, and we all know this. India metro, same thing is happening. Whether it's Africa or India, it's the same. Arguably, such aid based models of development lead to inefficiencies and waste in the entire system. For instance, foreign aid agencies donate millions of dollars to developing countries to combat malaria using free insecticide treated mosquito nets. But these programs have efficiencies comparable to programs that espouse cost sharing with customers. Now, aid distribution is often more about politics of the deliveries than the economic and social needs of the recipients. Should we be donating products when cost sharing with recipients is just as effective and has the added advantage of fostering a sense of ownership? Can we do to lower wastage? One way of combating foreign aid waste is to invest the funds in local programs that catalyze more opportunities for employment and self empowerment. For instance, foreign donations could enable micro lending for small businesses or financing for public goods like infrastructure development projects. Instead of donating mosquito nets, might invest in social ventures like Netmark, a company that builds facilities and trains residents to manufacture low-cost mosquito nets for the local market. So one thing what they is it is saying is instead of ये तो हुआ है, and not only that, the thing is that instead of the needy, the person who's supposed to get the aid doesn't get it. In between, that is, we have the middleman. They either sell off the goods or they consume their goods for their own needs. We all know that. ये होता ही है. It is very common. It's nothing any new. So what happens is that instead of giving things, it's better that they help the local business is helped, that is financing. It's better to finance them rather than donating things. वो हो चुके, we all know that Bhuj, that is it is a nine, कब हुआ था? That is severe. It was on 26th December, I suppose. But here I don't forget Gujarat Bhuj, that massive earthquake that we had. Lots of tents had come from foreign for aid for these homeless people. But it had been seen that those tents did not reach the people. Instead, the government, they gave them plastic to build tents. That tent material for camping that had come from foreign, from WHO, was nowhere to be found. So this is what happens. Versus trade. Question is important because of the customer-consumer relationship. When foreign entities donate to non-profit or developing nation governments, they separate the customers, NGOs and governments from the consumers, which are people and end beneficiaries. When customers don't understand or don't articulate the needs of the population correctly, the resulting solutions are likely to fail and is less likely in a market based venture like network, where the customer and the consumer are one and the same. Back systems are fast and effective. So, in other words, they are saying instead of donating, it's better that they finance small trades which benefit the society. It's not like huge things. It's those trades which benefit the needs that the society require. It's better to donate money to them than buying and giving them the things. So what happens is that in between, does not reach the recipient. But if the trader who makes that thing gets finance, then he can develop. He can. That is what there's a communication gap between the donor and the recipient. But if it is given to the person who is building or making those things, then communication between the donor and the customer is the same. So that means there is no gap in between them. Communication gap. Alongside the aid versus trade debate, that is aid versus trade debate, we must remember that a major application of foreign aid is in short term humanitarian relief. That means, in other words, if the person, if that is who is developing, that is the trader or the businessman, or if he is given finance, he then develops his trade, and then this becomes that is continuous. Relief is only temporary. It's not a permanent solution. For instance, disaster relief funding can be necessary for countries and communities to address immediate short term challenges and avoid further danger. Relief. In the wake of catastrophic natural disasters, devastated communities cannot rely solely on market based or locally developed improvements. However, the consequences of tragedies and exponentially the causes in anthropogenic cases can be mitigated by building resilient systems through the effective long-term planning. Right. So disaster aid is certainly necessary in some instance, but it should not last so long that it weakens the society's economy, creates its dependence on foreign donors. So that is supposing there's a disaster, immediate relief is required. It's good. You get the immediate relief so that it stabilizes to some extent, and then so that we can come back and start again. But that means, and it should not be, that is what it weakens the society's economy. That means, more or less, it's like a beggar. We know that. When those who beg on the roads, they do not want to work because by begging they get money. So why should they work? The same thing happens here. If we get donations, why should we develop? Why should we work? This is what it is said, what is meant. Technology solution leverage Western or indigenous knowledge. Of course, we should depend. There's nothing called Western or Eastern, whatever is correct or required for the moment, we should be doing that. Technology carries with it certain knowledge, perspective, and lifestyle concepts. Traditionally, appropriate technology theorists differentiated these concepts into indigenous, that is, local traditions and understandings often passed down through generations, and Western, that is, positivist and scientifically derived information often from the developed world. Okay. Often external technologies will change local traditions and champion a Western perspective. Ideas can help catalyze change and generate appropriate solutions that meld Western and indigenous knowledge. However, excessive deviation from indigenous perspectives often lead to failure of projects. In principle, AT should leverage both Western and indigenous knowledge, but how can they be balanced? So this is what they are saying, that is, they say in our villages we have certain, that is, knowledge. So that knowledge should be used with Western knowledge, that is scientific knowledge. Now those knowledges are based on experience. Agricultural land, and the farmers, they understand that what has to be done and what should be needed for, so that the crops are good. Now this understanding is based on observations that has been done generations after generation. So this knowledge with the Western knowledge would help agriculture production much better. So this is what they are saying, that is what is meant. That is, we should not forget our own, that is, that is knowledges which have come down for over generations, and only adapt the Western, that is knowledge. No, it should be a mixture of both, so that we get a positive result rather than a disaster. One example of such a balance is the kickstart manual treadle pump. The treadle pump, you have been done. Many of you have given examples of this, which allows community to access clean water quickly and easily. Design of the treadle pump caused women to move their hips in a provocative manner, leading many communities to reject it. Subsequently, indigenous perspective and knowledge inform the redesigned pump's pedal geometry in order to satisfy the community's culture and expectations. Sustainable health enterprises, that is SHE, in Uganda took on to the problem of young women missing skill due to lack of sanitary pads during menstruation. SHE adopted a more Western perspective, advocating against the status quo by making pads affordable. We all know in India, the pad man, he has done the same thing. So that is what it is, affordable and accessible to schoolgirls. They leveraged indigenous knowledge to make pads more eco-friendly, natural materials like banana bark, and employed traditional cooperative business structures to integrate this product into the local workplace. They successfully improved the girls' schools attendance with augmenting livelihoods and stimulating the local economy. So this is also one problem which is also in India. Now, we all see in the TV the ads are given about this. It's a real problem. So now this is how the things are done. They mean that just by taking Western ideas. Now, obviously, Johnson and Johnson, yeah, these all these multinational companies who will produce these products, it's going to be expensive. Now, the village people will not be able to this one afford that. If you have not seen Padman, please see it. You'll see how he had made it affordable. Important. Now, is a technology appropriate if it violates cultural norms? This is also one thing. Same way with the toilet. That is, had tried. They did not want to make a toilet inside their homes. Why? वहाँ तुलसी के पौधा बनते हैं, भगवान रहते हैं, ऐसे करके कैसे चलेगा? And this and that. Same way, the same thing happened here. Is a technology is so new technologies with local cultures. This could be unavoidable with this you ubiquitous technologies such as the internet or unintentional like the treadle pump that did not consider local cultural sensitivities. Even when then ventures try to mitigate both these possibilities, achieving harmony with local cultures can be difficult. Cell phone. Inherently compromised cultural traditions and face-to-face conversations in rural areas. On the other hand, we can blame cell phones for the destruction of traditional culture. And cell phones have enhanced the lives and livelihoods of billions of people who have readily accepted the technology and adapted their cultures accordingly. Is dynamic and should not be musicified either. Okay, what does this mean? So, as we all know, due to cell phone, we trade and business has been much easier because we can communicate much faster. Not only that, we all know that we can also advertise through cell phones. Telling stereotypes and celebrating differences. This is what it means. An act of strength instead of weakness found when one unearths, embraces, pays homage. Yeah. Oxford. Good. museumfication. This is what it means. Museumified means dismantling the stereotypes and celebrating differences. Now, should we be donating products when cost sharing with recipient is just an effective and has the added advantage of fostering a sense of ownership? Instead of outsiders dictating a specific definition of cultural preservation, local residents should be empowered to choose the life they want. On one hand, the evolution of culture may be secondary to basic survival and an improved quality of life. So actually, we cannot. What we they means is that you cannot impose any technology at any place or location. It's better we tell about it the people there and let them adapt according to you. On the other hand, the evolution of culture may be secondary to basic survival and an improved quality of life. Conversely, technology should not opportunity to lose an identity it wishes to preserve. When foreign breakfast cereals were introduced in Kenya, their popularity among expatriates threatened the traditional Kenyan breakfast industry. Same here in India. To pizza aya, burger aya, na? Then now we've forgotten to eat homemade food. You all want fast food. This was true even though the foreign cereals had a higher cost per nutrient ratio. वही बात होता है. That is, we have bread and jar rather than having sabzi roti. यही चीज हो रहा है ना. Even though the foreign, obviously the cereals cost a lot. Foreign cereals had a higher cost per nutrition ratio than that of the traditional diet. रोटी सब्जी कितना खर्च होगा? ज़्यादा नहीं होगा. But cereals is expensive. That is many cereals. We have local made cereals. Like एक है मोहन. इसका cornflakes and Kellogg's का cornflakes. Compare the price. The loss of traditional food habits did not improve community nutrition, but instead worsened it. Yes, that's true. Obesity and all that have started. घर का खाना, sabji roti dal, nobody wants to eat it. I'd rather have a pizza or a burger and Coke. Worst kind of drink that you can have. Culture is a dynamic entity and technology driven social development. It is a valid basis for cultural evolution. Outside innovators can introduce game changers and culture changes as long as users maintain their right to determine which technologies and cultural artifacts they want to adopt and which ones they want to discard. Is anybody listening to me? कोई सुन रहे हो क्या?
Yes, ma'am.
हाँ, because there's no response.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
don't get any response.
Yes, ma'am. We are listening.
There should be some response. I'm just that is giving a lecture on my own.
No, ma'am. We are listening.
I got this one. मुझे मिल गया. No, I'll show you. But I need an adapter. मुझे मिल गया writing pad. Can you see it? Wait. But I can't use it yet. See it? Oh, stop closing. Can everybody see this? It.
You are not sharing
What
anything.
I'm holding. You are not sharing anything. एक minute. Oh. Camera. Oh, camera is off. That's why. ये देखो. Writing pad from the college. But I need an adapter. I don't have the adapter.
And there will be one along
Use it
with it
also.
inside.
There will
Like it gets
be one
connected.
along with it. This is a very old one. My desktop is a very old desktop. So I need an adapter for this. I haven't opened it yet.
No, ma'am, we don't need an adapter. It has an adapter along with it inside.
पूछा था. Saying that in the college there's no adapter inside.
I also have this, but like my one came with an adapter
I'll
along with
open.
it. It was there was one
I'll
inside.
open and let you know. Actually, that's why I switch off the camera. Uh, Tube-light है, reflex. I'll open this and I'll try. I haven't tried it, but I heard people were saying in college that we need an adapter. This one, it's Windows 7, and I am mine is not a ये one. It's AMD
Radiant.
Athlon X2.
And
AMD
that is fine,
Athlon
but
X2.
there won't be an issue with Windows 7. Like I have tried it with Windows 7 as well.
Okay, let me see. I'll try then one day. But ये तो there's nothing to write. This subject is purely subjective. To write what is no data relations, no presentation, ये figures, nothing. ये तो सिर्फ पढ़ना है. Okay, what was I doing? This one. ये यहाँ तक किया था ना. Rely on manufacturing, localize. नहीं, हाँ, we were doing this. Violate cultural norms. Should we donate products? अच्छा. Sharing with recipient is just as effective and as the added advantage of fostering a sense of ownership. Okay, outside. So outside, innovators can introduce game changes and cultural changes as long as the users maintain their right to determine which technological and cultural artifacts they want to adopt and which ones they want to discard. So in India, ऐसा कुछ है. We have a lot of them. just a mobile. You see, the mobile smartphones, mobile should be now people have adopted it. Why? Because they now realize that Sorry, I won't be able to. I've got some work to do. अभी आए अच्छा टाइम भी तो हो गया attendance. So one thing, can you send your attendance on WhatsApp? Will you be
Yes,
able
ma'am.
to send
Yes, ma'am. We can add it on the
WhatsApp
group.
में भेज दो. I've got some work FOT में काम है and I
Yes,
have another class. चलो ठीक है bye. Just send WhatsApp कर दो.
मैम
yes, ma'am.
मैम
हाँ WhatsApp कर दो attendance.